And I'm wondering if you could tell us something about what happened to women. Were they enslaved as maids or also as farm workers in the same way?
They were put into the prisons too. I mean, there was Chattahoochee Brick Company. Chattahoochee Brick Company in Georgia, there were women that were enslaved in prison just like the men. Not the same terms of percentage, but there was. And we do touch on it within the film, you know. So it was the majority men, but black women didn't escape it either, you know.
And and again, back to the idea that this is an economically driven thing. In antebellum slavery, you know, in the old slavery that we know about, then a big part of, you know, slavery was the biggest industry in America before the Civil War, and cotton was arguably the second biggest industry. And so we're talking about the, you know, pillars of the. And by when I say slavery, slavery was an industry unto itself in the same way that the auto industry today, and it was as complex as the auto industry is today. In the same way that you've got car manufacturers and car wholesalers and car retailers and used car dealers and car repair people and car insurers and car financiers and car transporters, all those things that exist around the auto industry, well, they existed in a very parallel way around slavery, this incredibly complex place. But one of the things we forget about, because it's uncomfortable to discuss about, but a huge part of the business of slavery was the manufacturing of slaves. And so you had to have men and women engaged in slavery, not just for labor, but because if you owned slaves, you were in the business of producing slaves. And that's another way of extending your wealth. And so women were absolutely integral to the industry of slavery as it existed before the Civil War. The things that we talk about in the book and in the film, women are there and are dramatically impacted by this. But it's a very, as Adam Green calls it in the film, a fiendishly rational system, where the system absorbed the number of men for whom there was a market, and the men were, and in these coal mines, males aged 14 to 30 were the optimum workers, and so that's who was getting arrested, and that's who was getting sold into the coal mines, in these old pickaxe mines, because that's what the system needed. And also to the degree that there was also a need for laundresses and cooks and some of the other traditional roles of women to play. To the degree that a coal mine needed those workers, well, then that's how many women were arrested to fill those roles as well. And so there were dramatically fewer women, very, very dramatically fewer women than men. 90% of the, or more than that really, probably 95, 96% of the people who were forced into labor through the penal system were men. But there certainly were women there. But the bigger impact on women from all of this was, in fact, that these huge populations of men were, that husbands and brothers and sons, were being stolen away, sold into slavery, and all of the catastrophic impact that had on women everywhere. So it's certainly a story that affected everybody, but in specific ways.